What's up everybody, Adrian here. In this video I'm going to be talking about character development and how to take a one-dimensional cliche character and how to make them multi-dimensional with layers. And one example I'm going to use is from the movie Lord of War with Nicolas Cage. If you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend you go see it. And I really loved the ending because it's unexpected and it's like one of the coolest, like, best way to describe it is like a gangster moment. Like, it's really cool the way Nicolas Cage, like what he does at the end. So, and it's really a good movie. So let's talk about character development and let's get started. So one of the characters I'm going to be focusing on from Lord of War is Nicolas Cage's wife in the movie. And she started out as your typical cliche trophy wife. And throughout the movie, she really doesn't say much, really doesn't do much until towards like the middle end of the movie, where you think up until that point, you're like, oh, this is just a one-dimensional, no background, or, there's a little bit like she's your typical trophy wife. She's hot. She's, a model. She was even like won a beauty pageant in her town, and she only dates rich guys. And of course, Nicolas Cage in the movie, he's an arms dealer and he's like, filthy rich. So of course it makes sense that she would like go out with him, even though he's not the best, good looking guy ever, but he has lots of money. So it makes sense why she would marry him. And I think they even meet at some like arms dealership convention, and she's just there dressed up as a hot like army model dancing around, and he just sees her and he's like, oh my god, she's gorgeous, and he wines and dines her and tries to impress her, and of course it works. So you're just thinking this whole time like, oh, and they have a kid together. So throughout the movie you're thinking like, oh, she's just your typical cliche hot, gold digger, trophy wife, and that's it. But then, with her dialogue, you find out that, hey, she's not your typical one-dimensional character. She actually has a couple dimensions, and we're gonna focus on that and talk about it. So let's continue. Okay, so let's take a look at a few screenplay pages. I'll even set up the scene for you. Nicolas Cage's character is named Yori, and he comes back at night after this like crazy overseas trip, and then he finds Ava in her room, sitting at the edge of the bed, like I think almost naked, and she's very sad. Something's wrong with her, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. So it starts out Yori saying, "Why aren't you dressed? I thought we were going out." So he takes a robe, puts it on her shoulders, and Ava says, I can't wear the clothes, I can't wear the jewelry, I can't drive the car, I can't live in this house, everything has blood on it. Yuri says, don't be so melodramatic. Ava's like, of course I'm melodramatic, I'm a failed actress, remember? We need to talk about it. And Yuri's like, why? We never have before. And Ava's like, now we do. So just from the couple of sentences here, you're starting to find out that she's not this one-dimensional character because she is self-aware. She knows that, she has all this money, all this jewelry, all the most expensive clothes and houses, and she even acknowledges that she's a failed actress as opposed to being clueless or, thinking that she's like the greatest when she really isn't. So we're starting to figure out, like, okay, she's not that cliche as we thought. Because up until this point, she really didn't say anything. She was just there in the background, like, standing next to Nicolas Cage looking hot like she was supposed to do. So let's continue. Okay, so their conversation continues. Ava says, I've talked to your parents. Why do you think they don't want your money? They know where it comes from. We all know. Yuri sighs. Yuri says, I sell people the means to defend themselves, Ava. That's all. I don't hold a gun to anyone's head and make them shoot. Ava says, Yuri, I see the news. Sierra Leone, meaning the location. Yuri says, I don't sell machetes. Ava's like, what do you think it's pointing at the victims when they use those machetes? I see the pictures, Yuri. The guns are bigger than the boys. So Yuri says, there's nothing illegal about what I do. Ava's like, I don't care if it's illegal. It's wrong. So then she continues and says, I can accept the drugs. I can even accept the other women. I cannot accept this. That's a really good line because it makes her self-aware and she's not that dumb. You're thinking like, oh, the character that she portrays throughout the movie is that she's ditzy, dumb, she's just like a pretty face and is like blind because all she cares about is the money and, being lavish, lifestyle. But no, she sees all this. And because, he does drugs, and even sleeps with other women, even though he has the most gorgeous wife that anyone would kill for, but hey, what you gonna do? So she realizes that she's even letting him. But she can't accept, I guess, him selling guns to children and then the guns being used to kill children. So then Ava says, please stop. Yuri says, it makes no difference if I stop. Someone will take my place the next day. Ava says, let them. We have enough. You're not that little boy in Odessa anymore lining up for a loaf of bread. I guess because he grew up as a, poor childhood and now he's like super rich. So Yuri says, it's not about the money. Ava's like, what is it? And then he doesn't really give her an answer because maybe he doesn't have an answer. So I like that now you're starting to learn, she's self-aware of what she is. And she's not blind to what's going on around her. So let's continue. And finally, here's where the conversation ends between them. And this is where Ava really brings home the point of how she's feeling, and it lets you know that she is not even close to being a one-dimensional character or a cliche character. She actually, is multi-layered. So she continues to say, I feel like all I've done my whole life is be pretty. All I've done is be born. I'm not just a failed actress. I'm also a failed writer, failed artist, failed businesswoman. I'm not much good as a mother. Come to think of it, I'm not even that pretty anymore. I failed at everything. But I won't fail as a human being. I'm leaving. So then Yuri's like, you can't leave. I'll stop. She's skeptical, but Yuri continues to say, I've been thinking about it for a while, a lot lately. I'm making more money from oil and timber anyhow. I'll stop. And then she says, you will? You promise? Yuri's like, yes. And then he changes the subject and says, now get dressed, we'll go out. And then he goes to put the dress on her. And then he also says, by the way, you're wrong about not being pretty anymore. So you're thinking okay, they made up, she just had a little issue. She expressed the problem and he's like, okay, I'll stop. And by this point in the movie, the night before, he had the craziest night. You need to watch the movie. I don't want to spoil nothing. But you kind of believe him a little bit. You're like, maybe he will stop. And throughout the movie, he stops for a little bit and he goes legit, or as legit as he can. Not selling arms anymore. But then, stuff happens and I won't spoil it. But as a character development, this character, Ava, you think throughout the whole movie she's this cliche one-dimensional character. But based on this one conversation, you find out she's self-aware, she knows about all the failed stuff. She's not clueless. She knows what's going on around her, and she's sick and tired of being what everybody thinks she's supposed to be, a trophy wife. So she realizes, like, okay, I failed at everything, but, I'll just deal with the situation I'm in now. All you gotta do is stop selling, guns and bullets to kids overseas or whatever. So let's finish up, okay? So in conclusion, let's break down the different layers of Ava's character. Like, she's not one-dimensional, because one-dimensional, just think of any horror movie out there, and you got the cliche characters like the jock, the nerd, the cheerleader, but you don't really have a backstory or anything that they must overcome or evolve, a lesson that they have to learn or face their fears, and then at the end of the movie or before they get killed, they finally evolve and become, multidimensional. Now, I'm not saying Ava, is like, she doesn't have that many dimensions, but she's not one-dimensional, which is good. That's why the movie works, because you don't have one-dimensional characters. Even this one cliche character, Ava, that throughout the movie, she doesn't really do anything. She doesn't speak up until that conversation that we just went over, and you're thinking like, oh, she's just a hot gold digger, trophy wife, but you find out that she actually has, I guess she's two-dimensional. So the layer one is like the cliche trophy wife. And the movie could have just had her done nothing, and then you would have forgot about her, and it wouldn't made any sense. But because it's a good movie that you should go watch, they explored her background and her thoughts of how she felt, and she actually evolved. Because she was one way, she knew she was like a gold digger, trophy wife of, she only wanted to date super rich guys, super successful guys, because she's super hot. But then she even said, like, I'm sick of the money, I'm sick of the houses, I'm sick of the jewelry, I don't want to be that. Or we can be rich, but not super rich. So she's self-aware, and then she knows what's going on around her, that he's that he's doing drugs, selling arms, he's, cheating on her, but she's okay with that. So the second layer is what I just said, that she's self-aware and that she evolved. She's like, I don't want to, even though I failed, I don't want to be like this no more. I don't want to just be a trophy wife and sit around, look pretty, enjoy the perks of a rich guy, and just, go every day realizing everything that's happening around her. So that's, I guess, her moment of self-realization and evolving into wanting to be a better character. And I guess throughout the movie later, she wants to be a better mother. She doesn't care about the money as much anymore, even though it's not like whatever. But go watch the movie. I'm just saying. But then I thought of some other clever ideas. Well, I don't know. I guess they're clever, but some interesting ideas that they could have added to this character to really make her like a multi-layered, multi-dimensional, not just like a two-dimensional character. Even though she's good, but she's like a side character. So, for example, they could have added a scene where, because she married Yori, who's like super wealthy and super high profile, that she, even in the movie, she would go to all these like, what do you call, where all the rich people, like the dinners, like the rich people dinners, and she would mingle with high profile people and celebrities and rich, so she would have a lot of rich friends. So they could have did this thing in the movie where, for example, she wanted to fit in with these high profile friends of hers, and she would like donate money to these causes or charities to impress her friends. And like Yori could have been like, hey, by the way, you talk about you're sick of the jewelry, you're sick of the dresses and all this, but the money you're donating is to charities that, like, for example, it was just an example that, it's for abortion or something, or it could be not so on the nose. It could be more discreet and be like, oh, it's a charity that, hurts children somehow, and because she's so all of a sudden self-righteous about him, selling guns to children, and then he could point out, hey, by the way, you're there trying to impress your high-profile rich friends, fake laughing, and, you enjoy all the parties with them, and you're donating the money, but you realize that the money that you're donating to their charity is actually like hurting or killing children in some weird, 6 degrees of separation way. So that could have been another layer. And if she was self-aware about that and she was only doing it to fit in and impress her friends, that could have made her a hypocrite, but it could have been like another layer. Or maybe she didn't realize it, and then she finally realizes it and she's like, okay, I'll stop donating. Forget the rich fake friends. I'm only, faking it anyway, blah, blah, blah. So that could have been another layer. So then a fourth layer, he could have been like, okay, you're giving me a speech about, you don't care about the jewelry anymore and the cars in the house and the dresses, who cares? Okay, I'll go legit. In fact, I won't even go back to my oil business. I won't even go back to my timber business. I'll just get a regular job. And we can sell the house, the multi-million-dollar multiple houses, and we could live in the suburbs as middle class. And then maybe she could have been like, wait a minute, like, let's not be that drastic, because in the movie, like, yes, he does go legit, but she's still filthy rich. So, yeah, you're not getting like, $1 million jewelry or $10 million house, but you are getting a $5 million house. You are getting like, maybe not a Lamborghini anymore, but you are getting like a Porsche. So it's not like her little speech that I want to give up everything. She didn't really give that much up. She's still living above like the super rich, or she's still living like rich. Let's not exaggerate here. So, but if you really wanted to make it like a super like multi-layered character, Yori could have been like, okay, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to get a regular desk job. We're going to be going to the suburbs, getting like a, $500,000 house or whatever with a, white picket fence and regular middle class friends. And at first she could have been like, yeah, I'm okay with that. But then throughout the movie, she could have been like, actually, I miss the lavish lifestyle, and I really don't want the middle class lifestyle. So she could have left him and gone back to like a different rich guy. Now that would have been a very interesting character with multiple layers. So basically, I'm just trying to give you an idea of like when you're wanting to write a character with multi-layers or not be one-dimensional, think of a one-dimensional character and then give them a background, something that they will overcome or change their personality from, what they were to, later in the movie to what they learned. So I'll make other videos going into depth about, other cliche characters and making them multi-dimensional. But I thought this was one of the best ideas I saw. So definitely check out Lord of War. Until next time, guys, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks everyone for watching. Please like, share this video. Hit me up on Facebook and Twitter. Comment down below. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And also don't forget to check out my other videos. And until next time, remember my motto, where story comes first.